Hello everybody, thank you for visiting this channel. In my last video of this blockchain series, I have already told you why do we need the blockchain and how the blockchain network can change our life and revolutionize the entire human society. Now in this video, I will be telling you how the entire blockchain network works and how it can impact our life more efficiently and change our entire human behavior. The functionality of both blockchain and today's banking system seems quite similar except the prevailing decentralization protocol in the blockchain network. In banking, all the banks get interconnected with each other through a central banking system and form a strong banking network. Similarly, all the computer nodes does it for the blockchain network. But still, they do their tasks independently without any mainframe central computer. But just only having a banking system or blockchain network doesn't solve any problem unless it is used to transfer value from one person to another and keep the records of the transaction precisely. In case of banks, this job is done by its employee called bankers. Bankers are the main coordinators of the banking networks who are responsible to record, maintain and update the ledger entries of the transaction. And to transfer the value from one person to another, they use the government currencies. Similarly, to maintain the blockchain network and transfer the value from one person to another, these computers use their coins or tokens. All I will discuss in details in the next part of this video series. In this case, let's suppose it is the Bitcoin that is used to transfer the value from one person to another in the decentralized protocol. Now in banking system, when the value is transferred from one person to another, some fees are charged by the banks to its customers. Because nobody would like to do anything for free, and in this world, nothing is free after all. Similarly, in case of blockchain, this job is done by the network computers called miners. They also get the rewards for validating and storing the transaction details called the transaction ledgers in the blockchain network. But to maintain all the financial transactions and the validity of the blockchain, the miners need to maintain two basic things. Number one, selection of right recipient in the network, and number two, prevention of double spending. Under the selection of right recipient, it is checked whether or not the money is being transferred to the right person. And in the section of preventing the double spending, it is checked whether any fraudulent transaction is being done in the system or not. Suppose in general banking system, Mr. X wants to transfer $1,000 to Mr. Y. When he puts the request to the bank, bankers like Sherlock Holmes first verify whether or not Mr. X really possessing $1,000 in his account. Then if he finds everything is fine, then he approves the transaction and Mr. Y gets the money from Mr. X. But if Mr. X fraudulently tries to send the same amount to Mr. Z despite of not having any further money in his bank account, then Mr. Banker says, "Hey, wait a minute, you don't have money anymore." And he rejects the fraudulent transaction. This stops the double spending. Similarly, the same technique is followed by all the minor computers in the blockchain network, and they follow two techniques. Number one, proof of work. Number two, proof of stake. Proof of work is considered as the first generation blockchain validation protocol. Like traditional banking system, the sender and the receiver both possess a digital wallet that is represented through combination of some alphanumeric numbers or unique codes along with a secret private key of the wallet. And when anyone put a request to send suppose $1,000 worth of Bitcoin from one wallet to another, the transaction is broadcasted in the blockchain network, and instantly all the mining computer nodes get involved and join the race to validate the transaction under the blockchain protocol. Suppose they need to follow three protocols for successfully validating the transaction. First, they need to verify the sender's digital wallet whether or not this person is actually processing the Bitcoin worth $1,000 in his wallet. And then the miners decide whether or not receiver wallet is correct and does exist in the same blockchain network. And at last, they need to solve a cryptographic puzzle. These puzzles may be like the first three words of the blockchain hash code need to be 0, and 5th, 7th and 9th letter of the block hash code need to be a large alpha digit number, or may include many terms and conditions like this. To just get an idea and general information, no need to get much deeper into this complex technology. and which computer nodes or miner can complete these three jobs first among all the mining computers get the right to approve the transaction and get some coin in return as reward for his job. And once this transaction validation is done, all the computer nodes in the same network need to verify it before ledger finally permanently recorded inside a new block. Generally, block contains three things. Number one, data of the transaction. Number two, hash code of the previous block through which the blocks stay connected with the new blocks. Number three, the hash code of the newly generated block. And this is how the block containing the transaction ledger stay connected with each other and form a blockchain network. And if sender try to apply this double spending technique, then the miner computers will reject this attempt, and as all of them will not be agreed upon a common consensus, the block formation will be rejected by the network. And this is how the entire blockchain network can be kept secure, but it has some downfalls and problems too. One of the major problems in the proof of work technique is, as all the computers in the network compete with each other to solve cryptographic puzzles to validate the transaction so that they can earn reward, it consumes huge electricity. It is found that a single Bitcoin transaction consumes up to 1752.79 kilowatt hours of electricity energy. That equals to total energy consumed by 1.2 million Visa transactions. And most of this energy is produced by burning of coals. That is one of the major environmental issues. The second problem is, in order to stay profitable in the mining business, the miners need to upgrade their computer hardware to increase the mathematical computation power of the mining computers. Previously, they used to use the normal central processing unit of the computers. Then with the growing competition, they started using the graphic processing unit that we call the GPUs. Then they started using field programmable gate array that is called FPGA. And with much growing popularity and competitions in this field, the large miners nowadays using application-specific integrated circuit called ASIC hardware. That is making the blockchain maintenance much expensive day by day. Who knows, for that reason, Bitcoin will be costlier day by day, and someday it will be much costlier than the gold in present time. The third problem is the mining pool dominance. To increase the per second hash calculating speed, that is called the hash rate, if all the big miners come together and create a mining pool, then this mining pool might accumulate the centralized power of validating the majority of the transaction in the blockchain network. That perhaps can kill its decentralization protocol. And the last problem is the scalability of the Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin just can complete 7 transactions per second, that is keeping Bitcoin out of the competition compared to Visa and MasterCard in terms of scalability. So these are the 4 real life problems associated with the Bitcoin and Bitcoin blockchain, as well as the proof of work mechanism. And to solve these problems and many problems like this, some smart people came together and invented the smart contract mechanism. One of them is Ethereum and its upgraded version, Ethereum 2.0. This proof of stake protocol is generally called the second generation blockchain technology that involves staking and smart contract mechanism. Unlike proof of work system, no any miners as well as the mining is required in the proof of stake mechanism. In opposite, all the transactions are verified by the validators, and they need to take part in the blockchain network and need to stake some of the coin to enjoy the validator's right. It is like the caution deposit in general, or maybe same as the license guarantee of something. Where suppose one Ethereum need to be transferred from one Ethereum wallet to another, among all the validators, system select just one validator with higher staking position in the blockchain for validating the transaction. This validator computer node check all the necessary transaction compliances like wallet balance or wallet address, etc., and give the first level approval from its end. Then this transaction validation need to be approved by all the participating computers in the node or by other validators before getting the final approval of the completion of the transaction. And in return, validators get the minor transaction fees or reward in the form of crypto coins. But if it approves any fraudulent transaction, then it will lose all of its staked cryptocurrencies. But as the transaction verifying rewards always stay less than its staking value, then the fraudulent transaction validation will lead this computer node to lose all of its crypto assets. That generally prevents the validators to approve the fraudulent transaction, and the blockchain stays safe and transparent. And if the pre-existing network validators want to withdraw their stake, they can also do it. In that case, they will no longer be a validator and will be just a simple participator of the network. In the smart contract, a mutual contract including all the rules, regulations and conditions are enforced between two parties inside a same blockchain network. And all the transactions get successfully completed when all the conditions enforced in the contract and the blockchain as well are fully met. Let's take an example of an employment application issued by an human resource department of any organization, where employer will choose those applications that meets its education qualification criteria, salary expectations and minimum work experience pre-decided by the employer. If on the other hand, these three criteria are made by the employee, then he or she may be called for the interview from thousands of job applications. And any mismatch will disqualify the candidate from attending interviews. That results in rejection in the transaction, and this entire process is done without any human intervention. So this is how the entire blockchain network works. In my next video, I will be telling you the name of the crypto projects that can change the human revolution and make you a million. And if you are still in the video, make sure you will not quit without subscribing this channel. Let me give the disclosures. All the information shared with you in this video is completely self-researched. Request your help for correction if I am wrong anywhere. Till then, stay safe, stay well, bye bye.